Hello and welcome, if you're live especially, to the latest transfer podcast. We're doing it to ourselves again. And on the back of some less than stellar news with relation to some of the stories that have been breaking recently, we have some Liverpool updates. You're going to be all too aware of them, especially if you're a social media junkie like most of us are. There were a few things that obviously got dangled out there, were very exciting. We touched on them in the last show, and it's like they've been taken away from us, Dave, because we were bold boys and we don't deserve nice things. It's frustrating, and during the week, I have been harangued for being using words like embarrassing around our current transfer strategy, and lads are coming out of the woodwork, kind of lads that you might say, if you were going to be a little bit if you're going to be a little bit critical, they fall into that top red, I support the current thing, trust the system, trust in Arne, trust in FSG. Look, we're top of the league, aren't we? Kind of thing. And it's like you're not allowed to say, Dave, that yes, we are, and we'd like to stay fucking there. And we'd also like to stay there next year. And what you do if you want to do that is you get stronger when you're strong. That's a long-winded introduction. Here's Dave Davis. How are you, my friend?
I'm currently working through everything in my mind, and it's kind of like in modern culture. I'll give a reference, people. Last week, me and Trev gave you transfer links, A New Hope. Yeah. This week, we've moved on to episode 2, FSG, the accountants, the patch journos strike back. That's where we are a little bit. And to be honest, it's sort of the same cycle, isn't it, Trev? But here we are with a couple of weeks of the transfer window left to go. Is anyone confident anything gets done for Liverpool? I think we know the answer to that.
It's grim, man. It's grim. Let's not try to put anything else in front of people. We are clearly, by the fact that we do this show, kind of transfer junkies. We enjoy this side of the game, and it's been a dark enough sort of pursuit for us as Liverpool fans. Now, we do a transfer show, so we get to talk about the lunatic asylum that is Chelsea, and we get to laugh at Manchester United's strategies, and these things keep us sane, God bless them. But when it comes to Liverpool, and again, like I said, strengthening when you are strong, that has been a real failing. And there has been this pattern, man. Again, I outlined it in a tweet, which was overly all caps, boomer, sort of faux stressed out. But the pattern is here, man. And it goes like this. Let me bounce this off you. Tell me if I'm being ridiculous or over the top. The Reds get linked with a top high-profile player that gets us all excited. The link is then confirmed by Ornstein or Joyce, and then the other one confirms it as well. Next thing you know, there is another club, a sizable club of some sort, who are in the running for said player. The next thing you know, there's an announcement from Jimbo Pierce or some of the other local lads saying Liverpool have no interest in player X. And it doesn't matter if it goes on for the entirety of the summer or a 48-hour thing like Feature was. It is the pattern. And I'm not an idiot. I can see it. It's not like it's a conspiracy theory. It's constant. What's your feeling around why this continues to happen? Do you think it's as simple? I'm going to offer you 2 options. Bat them both away. Tell me they're nonsense. First option, I think, we just don't want to spend big money. And if someone else gets involved, then we are going to have to get into a bidding war, and our lot will not do that. That's theory 1. Theory 2 is that these things weren't real in the first place. And this is where we get into lunatic asylum stuff, where if you can't trust what you're hearing from the likes of Ornstein and Joyce, then you know what are we even doing here? Because we have been told that they are the gold standard. But this theory runs that those stories are fed to the press for reasons. And some lads manage to spin it that it's propaganda that Liverpool want to be linked with these great clubs, because, Liverpool are a pathetic little club who could never be linked with these great players. that one has very little legs for me, although people believe it vociferously, and especially if they are the kind of lads who were popping up last week in the comments here, very staunch FSG outers. They believe this theory. Are you partial to either, or do you have an alternative one for me as to why this pattern keeps occurring?
I am partial to a good conspiracy theory, as you know, and I do sometimes enjoy hearing little bits just for fun from the people that would turn up at public floggings back in the day and want hanging brought back and all those types of characters who are just a little bit wild. I don't mind hearing from them just for fun. However, yeah, these Camp 2 people, Trev, and the famous PR thing that goes on back and forth, honestly, it is number one, isn't it? Like, we've seen it. And if people don't believe that Joyce, Ornstein, these type of names get good sourced info from reliable sources, if you think they're all just complete chances, and you're going to think that anyway, but come on. And quite often, like you said, there's links, and then as soon as it gets to a certain price or a certain way, two things happen. Liverpool either, as you said, backtrack. Oh, we were never interested in this player. Like, come on, it's out there. You clearly were. You've just blown it one way or another, or it's gone beyond your price tag, or whatever it is. Or the second thing is, as has happened in recent times, that we have to be honest, Caicedo, Zubimendi, we can't get it over the line. The player doesn't choose us. There's evidence to that as well. But the long story short is, Trev, these come out. There's clearly substance in them. Whatever it is, Liverpool just don't get deals done quite often.
And they don't get them done in the same pattern. And you mentioned the names. Let's not fool ourselves. We go back as far as Tchouameni. You go to Caicedo. You go to Bellingham. You go to Mountain most recently. You go to help me out here. Even if you want to go all the way back to Marco Reus, there are situations where there's interminable links, all the best noises in the world, and the most recent one, of course, is Kvaratskhelia, which was so exciting for people like myself and yourself to think, here's this top-end footballer who is pulling up trees in Serie A, the best player at the club at the top of Serie A, and we have an opportunity to get our sticky little grubby paws on him. Wouldn't that be great? And that was, I think, probably our best story to start with, because it was the one that was most exciting to me. And then the pattern happened, Dave. The pattern happened. PSG were reputedly happy to honor every aspect of his contract. And then, before you knew it, James Pearce was saying that Liverpool were not going to be pursuing any deal for this player. It was a disappointing one, man. It was, because you could see that he could be quite transformative for us in many ways.
I get this, and I get why people are a bit sort of frustrated, gutted, whatever word you want to insert there, whatever adjective. It's almost like, and I said to you before we came live, if you're watching this via YouTube, you know that Look Roy Hodgson meme, the one where it goes like, oh, and then he kind of disappoints. Watch this, because it's kind of like, Ornstein's linked to Kavicha, an elite talent. He's going to PSG type of thing. That's exactly what has happened. And like you said, it now comes out that, Liverpool were never really going to make a serious bid, however it's been phrased. We don't really care. I mean, people are going to be saying he's not actually at the Parc des Princes yet, and he's not, like, come on. We know what's happening type of thing. Like, it just is another frustrating bit exactly along the reams of what you said. And maybe the biggest disappointment with this, Trev, is this is an elite player. It seemed opportunistic with the fee looking like Dr. Evil there with the fingers. So there's just extra disappointment on it. But it's just another day in Liverpool life, isn't it?
Yeah, and just to lean into the fact that there were reasons why we were excited. You know, yes, we have a couple of very good left wingers at the moment, but Cody has the potential to be capable of playing more central and also dovetailing very nicely with someone like Farah, or alternating like he is with Diaz at the moment. And Diaz looks like he could be for the Hills in the summer. So this is why everyone was getting excited, because it seemed to make all kinds of sense. And I convinced myself, Dave, and I still remain convinced to an extent, that Liverpool is a destination club. And as a destination club, they are higher on the pecking order than PSG. And so you come down to one simple thing: agents getting involved and heads being turned because of cash. And that is disappointing. And I'm not judging the kid at all, but, you know, it's disappointing for us because we are never going to be in a position to say, oh, we'll just pay you all the money. Don't worry about that aspect of it. If that's what you're worried about, we'll never be in with a shout for those guys. Now, I can already hear the trust the system guys going, well, we don't want a prick like that anyway. You know, we do, at our club with our values, we don't want such a money grubbing materialist. Come on. What do you think is happening with the three big boys at the moment with their contracts? Do you think they're haggling over, how many scones will be left out for the public in their honor every day? No, they want bottom line money for themselves because they get one go round at this. I'm not judging the players. I'm simply saying, because of that bottom line, that's probably going to be, and simply may well have been, the reason why a lot of these things don't happen for us, Dave.
Yeah, but it's, you feel it's come down to money. I mean, there'll obviously be reports of what he's paid with PSG, but however we dress it up, like the fee that's talked about as well, Trev, I mean, somewhere between 60 to 65 million quid, wants to go, 2 years left on his deal. It's just ticking all the boxes. So, yeah, it's just going to disappoint everyone, this, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. And like, why not kick the show off with a big sort of wet balloon landing on your head? Because we're just going to roll on with it. Because even the one that you and I were kind of quietly giddy about, not because the guy is going to come in and be an immediate first teamer, but because we were loving the concept of our nerds winning the silent battles in the background to emerge on top and give us those margins of excellence that push us to the top again. We were looking at a lad who's playing second-tier German football, who's Greek, who's got great numbers, and all our nerds were saying, this is the guy for us, Mr. Simas. And that too has been poo-pooed by Bad News Pierce during the week. Like, one is bad enough, but two, and when we can't even have the hipster option, I despair, Dave. I despair.
Get your Roy Hodgson gif ready, because it's there it is as well. So yeah, this one, James Pierce comes out, doesn't he, and says Liverpool have no interest in pursuing a deal for Stefanos Zimas. And as you said, we talked about it last time. This feels like a big nerd one. They would love it. It's so hipster, isn't it? Like, on loan, a Greek from PAOK in the Bundesliga 2 at Nuremberg. I mean, this kid is the footballing version of like avocado with prawns in it. It's hipster galore, basically. Like, it's all set up. Now, obviously, I'm going to say this clearly because I see people are like, oh, Sam Maguire's right or James Pierce is wrong, vice versa, etc. We know how good an info Sam Maguire gets. We know this is well-resourced, well-researched, whatever you want to call it. And funnily enough, Plettenberg came out as well, didn't he? And others saying, yeah, there's absolutely things in this. Liverpool are very much looking at this kid. And as Sam reported there, they know what's required. They were trying to get ahead of it. No doubts about it at all. This one for James Pierce saying no interest. Obviously, we've been digging today to try and get like, what is going on? Why are we getting wildly different things? So the general info, the update that we got, and we're not trying to claim ITK because obviously that ship has sailed with all this. The info we've got, though, Trev, today is, as we told or talked before, a lot of Premier League clubs are interested in this kid. Good Premier League clubs. And let's be honest, if Zimas comes to us, where is he in the pecking order? And I know people are going to be shouting like, who's going all this? But if it was right now, 6th, 5th, maybe at best type of thing, isn't he, realistically? So his minutes are going to be difficult to come by. If he goes to other Premier League clubs, can get guaranteed minutes, can't he, pretty much? Get regular, be clocking up like 25, maybe more games a season. Now, in a kid's development like this, I kind of get that. I think most people will get that at the same time as well. There's nothing wrong with saying Liverpool are an elite club and they should be getting the Kavicas of this world. I also like the idea we go for a Zimas of the world. I like the idea of having both. I think that's a smart transfer strategy. However, if you can't offer guaranteed playing time to the kid, I kind of get it. But do you know what I would like, Trev? I would like to stop after doing my Roy Hodgson meme impression. That would just be good. So, yeah, that's the other side to it.
You know, there was a period of time where I think these boys were at their absolute peak, and you would hear about a transfer day of, day before. Fab's the obvious one, best example of it. But there are others. And even something like Luis Diaz is kind of done and dusted before you even had a chance to look around. Those kind of deals. You're so right about the ITK bus having left the station, that the ship has sailed. Somebody then went to the bottom of the ocean and blew it up further, and now it's in a crater at the bottom of the ocean. There is apparently, even for lads who have proper reputations, lads like our old ex-colleague Sam that you mentioned, lads who have national clout like Ornstein and Joyce, nobody seems to know, man. Nobody seems to know. So I agree with you, and it's. I think I'm not irrational to be pissed off by the pattern, and I'm not irrational to be pissed off by being dragged into the Roy Hodgson gif again and again and again. And I think that's fair enough to say without it being too much of a cry. One of the links that hasn't been shot down in flames yet, though, is Semenyo. Now, unless I'm very much mistaken, young Davis, you had Semenyo last year, and it's not new news to us that we're interested in Semenyo, but my God, people were breaking it like it was a sort of, the second coming of insider info. Talk to us a little bit about what you think is happening with Semenyo, if anything. And Dave, is anything real, man?
It's just, God, where do you start? I mean, you're right. We mentioned this last year, and we said last summer, in the transfer show. It is last year, technically. It was 2024, wasn't it? That Semenyo is one that he's probably a player that people like. Semenyo, Bournemouth, like, shut up type of thing. But the nerds liked him. He profiled quite well. He wasn't quite in the supernova or going supernova category, but he profiled well. And me and Bart's ran him on transfer market metrics, Trev, to be fair. And by the time Bart's was done, them glasses were getting sprayed down with that, because he was getting quite excited about what he was seeing from Semenyo at the same time. I mean, he scored an absolute belter last night, didn't he, at the same time as well? Absolutely. I mean, the guy's got a lot of stats he's got from a lower league background. There's a lot to like. Do I think there's anything in this? Get your Roy Hodgson gif ready again type of thing. So I just think this is one that, and we've checked, and if there is, fair play, some people won't like it. We can't get anything that anything's moving forward with Semenyo. That would be a lie. But I kind of like him. Do we have anything on it? Get your Roy Hodgson. No.
Before we go to people who are moving away from the club, I know I said I'd keep this show short, Dave. I'm already making an absolute royal bollocks out of it. I apologize to you for saying we could deliver a half-hour show, because we were not going to be able to do that. We cannot walk away, because people are going to be pissed off if we do. We cannot walk away without making some reference to the current, what young Hendrik described on Daily Red today as blip. And the, in terms of points gained and all the rest of it, there is a world in which Liverpool are now out of sight and the league is essentially won. And I'm not crying that it's not. And yes, positivity, Twitter. I do understand that we have a massive, comparatively big lead. We have games in hand, and we have been generally playing well. I do trust the players. I do trust the manager. But these contracts are adding to the bollocks that we're having to deal with, where we're all saying, can we please strengthen this squad now and maybe allow some of these lads not to load up too many minutes in their legs and maybe be good towards the end of the season? Like we were able to manage Ibu at the start. Imagine if we could manage him throughout a season. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But apparently not. So we can put the transfers with Liverpool, the incoming potential, to one side for a second, and let's just talk briefly about these contracts. I know you're going to have very little to add to it in terms of insider info. At least I'm guessing, unless you've heard something I haven't. But it's always funny to me. In the comments thread there, I did see out of the corner of my eye that one or two people are very bullish on the fact that Virgil and Mo are done. And I'm hearing these stories as well. That's all they are. Yeah. And if we've learned anything on this podcast, children, it's that we should not believe stories so far. So what about the situation with them? Has anything changed in your belief around what's going to happen based on the games, based on the results? I mean, people can put 2 and 2 together and get 17 if they want to look at the form of certain players and extrapolate from that. I don't know how useful that is, Dave. I don't think it's very useful at all. But long term, it could become, like I said to you this day last week, it could become a bit of a toxic situation if results go the wrong way. You know how this happens. You'd have to be a naive idiot to believe that it couldn't get toxic if the results hit a wall for us. It can be harder then to get back up if we're not all completely together. Any latest info on this? Any latest good feeling on this? Any latest insight from yourself at all on the contracts?
Being honest, even chased it today. It's kind of, there's the element, like you said, Trev. There's people who we get good info off saying, yeah, their briefing is that it's good with Van Dijk, Salah's, all this type of thing. But this is important. Nothing's getting done. Nothing's getting signed. And then when the players are asked directly, you have Virgil going, no, there's no update. You have Mo saying, nothing close in that regard. And yeah, they've gone quieter, you could argue, recently. But I'm just starting to get to the point where I am very surprised we are on the 15th of January. There was 2 weeks of this window left, and not one of them is done. Now, a lot of people like us have got our suspicions about it's probably not going to be all 3, despite what we would want. But to not have a single one on the board is a little bit troubling. I think you can say that in best case scenario, because you'd want at least one in the bag. I'm going to be honest. I saw some people sort of tweeting this or suggesting that. I just think Mo Salah missed chances last night. It does happen, as it proves. Even the best missed chances. That just happens at times in that regard. So I'm not really putting anything on that. Mo Salah is still a demigod in my eyes. And I don't know why some people were sort of calling for him the other night. The best missed them. Virgil van Dijk as well, elite. I am desperate for them to sign. Still the same suspicions from as we've talked about on shows before. I still think we know what's going to happen with Trent. We're all just sort of gearing up to it, shall we say. But long story short, no real updates, I'm afraid. I wish I could say there was.
Just to give a little bit of added heft to your last statement there around the third player, probably the most problematic one for most people in terms of how they're thinking about it and why they're thinking what they're thinking. Nice to see Simon Brundish in the chat there. God bless you, Si. Fair play. Thanks for the comment there. Just reading it out. When he reckons when the Trent news hits, it's going to be catastrophic. If he just came out on January 1st and was honest, it might have been a softer landing. And dude, I could not agree more with you. All we wanted was for him to say a thing. Regardless of what he said, we could then begin to deal with it as a fan base, as a team, as a club, and move on. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that we're privy to all the details, and maybe there is a certain quiet knowledge of what's going to happen behind the scenes, and they're all getting their heads around it for what it's worth. Who knows? I would be surprised, knowing how dressing rooms work, that there isn't a level of discourse about this every day, Dave. So let's just see how it goes. But I do, like Simon, I do fear that it may have a sort of a bad effect if the news breaks in a way we don't want it to. And it's going to now anyway, isn't it? There are some people who are on the fringes of the red squad, and we're obviously looking at deals for loans. I saw Jayden Danns come on there recently, and I said this to you last year. I said it to you. I said to anyone who'd listened to me, on the back of the appearances we saw from him on the cup run. He's got it. Whatever it is, that kid has it. Yeah. He's got the physicality. He can finish. He's positive in his work. He's confident. He's for me, just on the sample size I saw, head and shoulders above any of those kids that we saw come through, because he was able to do the end product part. And so I'd love to see him stay around, but of course, better minds than mine will have an idea on what's best for Jayden in terms of his development. Just given how misfiring our Uruguayan book is, I'd like to have the option of a young boy on the bench who is talented and really up for making a point. But, I do understand that he will be amongst the ones who are linked with loans away. Who are those players, Dave, and what are the clubs they're being linked with?
Yeah, there's quite a few are playing for the under-21s tonight. It might have kicked off as we speak, actually. It's against Slavia Prague in some sort of invitational it is. But yeah, I mean, a few have gone, as we know, that Calvin Ramsey to Kilmarnock. That's not looking the wisest investment of funds right now, is it? Cade Gordon, I should say, has come back. Liverpool agreed to terminate that with Norwich, and it's fully expected he will go out on loan again. Now, digging sort of into that, he just wasn't really getting minutes. Cade Gordon, they still do, so I don't want to sound this as a negative. They have real high hopes for Cade Gordon. They got it from Derby for a pretty penny, didn't they, back in the day? The problem Cade Gordon had is, I'm sure someone medical's going to pick me up on this, but sort of growing pains. Do you remember, like, Gerrard had them quite a bit as he tried to develop it and that way? And that's what sort of the info is, growing pains. I know there's going to be a medical definition or something. So that's kind of hindered his development. They've still got hopes for him, so he'll go out on loan. But yeah, as you mentioned there, we said before, James McConnell's got plenty of loan offers on the table. It's all about which one, or if the club want to take those forward. Jayden Danns as well. Yeah, there's links coming out, the woodwork galore with Jayden Danns. And like you said about Jayden Danns, Trev, whatever it is, he's got it. You kind of expect him to bury one in the cop end, don't you? And then just pick up a microphone in the corner and go, I'm going to take this moment. And just while everyone's got the iPhone out on the cop type of it. He's just got something like the X Factor, whatever it is type of thing. Like, the kid's special in that regard. So, yeah, of course, if you're a championship club who's not got a striker, of course you're looking at Jayden Danns. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so there's loads of info coming there. The question is, for those two, what does Arne Slot and what do Liverpool want to do? They've got the option if they want to send them on loan. Do they want to keep them around the first team squad? I don't know. But if they want to send them, the option's there.
Yeah, as you say, of course, the option's there. People are going to be interested in players like that. Did I associate you on Twitter now with that gif of the baby with the...
Yeah.
That's exactly what I associate. That's amazing that you went there. If you want to see a textbook definition of what sarcasm is, you should have a look in the chat where John P has referred to some comments made previously with the comment, "Careful, guys, let's not pick on Hughes. Don't you know he's working really hard under tough constraints?" with an exclamation mark. That could be, maybe I'm doing you wrong, John. Maybe you meant that earnestly, but I think we know what you meant there. Fair play to you. There is one sort of bridge-like story that leads us away from Liverpool and out into the Premier League. And obviously, interestingly, to our closest rivals for the title. theoretically, and that is Arsenal, who are now about to rescue Mountain Nance from his Highland hell and bring him to the bosom of their London paradise. And apparently he's up for it until, a couple of months pass and he realizes that he hates London and he's longing for the Sociedad scene again. But it kind of hits home, doesn't it? Kind of stings a bit, this one. Not necessarily because they got this player and he'd be so good for us, blah, blah, blah. We'd all be excited if we'd gotten him. I'm not going to belittle the fact that Arsenal look like they're going to do this deal. But just, it stings a little bit because it reminds us that here's one of those guys that went in the pattern. The big links, the strong connections, the reputable journalists, and then dead. And then Liverpool are not going to be pursuing this via Jimbo. And here he is pitching up. And it looks, judging by the big smiley head on Lego Head last night, it looks like Lego Head's going to spend some more money, pushing him closer and closer to the 900 million. Who knows? Maybe he'll get to the billion before that trophy ever lands with him there at Arsenal. What do we know about this deal and how real it is? Is it more paper talk, or do you think this is one that has real legs?
Yeah, I think this one's got real legs. Do I believe it's an absolute cert? There's a little bit to that. I mean, it's come out from various sources, haven't they? Ornstein says Arsenal are looking at bringing Zubimendi in the summer. Now, I don't know if they've just adapted the PowerPoint and stuck the shard in place of mountains to try and trick him that way or something. Like, I don't know how they sort of piece this together. But yeah, that's definitely there. And sort of digging a bit further, we mentioned before, Thomas Partey, we won't say too much for the lawyers, has 6 months left to go on his deal. So he's probably going to go in that regard. So they naturally need a DM because remember, anyone's formation, Arsenal like to play 7 DMs across the middle. So you need to be careful and have that protection, don't you? So that's what Arteta adores that way, isn't it, in that regard? The only thing, Trev, sort of digging on this a little bit more is like, yeah, absolutely. Nothing is definite. The strong belief still in Spain is Zubimendi ends up at Real this summer. I mean, what would be more a transfer saga than we had the Roy Hodgson meme of this last summer, followed by 2 days ago, James Pearce put in it, and fair play to James, he wrote, I'm not down his source, added this to the David Ornstein article about it, saying the Liverpool take, Liverpool are not going to go back in because they've moved on with Gravenberch, which obviously caused people to want to set things on fire and do certain various acts, etc. But I just wonder, wouldn't it be funny if after all this, Mountain Boy just ended up in Madrid after all that, wouldn't it? Having been linked and courted by every single English club, how funny would that be?
It would almost be inevitable. It's the classic Bayern move, isn't it? You know, good player at other German club, lots of people interested. He's going to end up at Bayern. It just happens, and Real are that, if not bigger, in Spain. So yeah, can I take a second to address Cam Branch, who is slandering me in the comments, referring to me as Downey the hypocrite because I am a comparatively recent transfer acolyte. I used to be a guy who preached about how he didn't want to engage with it. And the reason I didn't want to engage with it is because I wanted to have my summers off and I didn't want to think about stuff like that. And I think that made sense. But now I'm older and wiser and I understand via the guru that is young Davis there, the transfers are fucking fun. Unless, you're Liverpool. And also, can I ask Simon there to stop using filth in the comment section as well? I'm not sure where you learned your Latin, Simon, but rectus femoris avulsion sounds like something that an exorcist would be saying over a young one who's spraying green puke all around the place. I'm not sure what's going on there, man. Be a bit worried about it. Let's get on to the next topic, if we could, Chief. And we have some deals going on. Some clubs like buying people, City and Chelsea, obviously. But let's just start with Villa. Little bit of news there, and then we'll go from there across to City and finish with Chelsea. So Villa first.
Yeah, other clubs can actually do deals and complete things, truth be known. A bit of a strange phenomenon in other parts of the UK. So, yeah, Aston Villa complete the deal, don't they, with Borussia Dortmund? Yeah, who knew? And Donnell Marlon is their winger. And they can even sell players at the same time. So, Jadon Philogene, he's gone to Ipswich. So, one in, one out at Aston Villa.
What about City then? Because this makes me laugh. You know, City are doing what they're doing, and I think we touched on it the last day, but I'm going to reiterate just in case people didn't hear that last show. It makes me giggle to myself that City are about to do a couple of big deals. Theoretically, we saw them being linked with Marmoush. I'm not sure if that's gotten a little bit caught up in some bother, but we know that they're doing a deal for some young centre half. And we're looking at big money for all of them. And so, Dave, it reminds you, doesn't it, that they don't give a shit. They're quite happy. They understand what's going to happen with the charges. And it's essentially for all of our pals, and I understand why you would be doing it in a world where I was possessed of enough innocence, I would be doing it as well. But realistically speaking, you're not going to be heading off and spending that kind of money if you think you're going to get hit with even massive fines. They probably know the fine's going to be manageable. So I just thought this was interesting. But what is the story with City and the players they're being linked to?
I actually have a theory on this that it's almost going to be like a Monty Python sketch when it comes out. It's going to be, they're not a football club. They're a very naughty boy, and we've told them to behave going forward like that. That's what it will be, pretty much realistically. But yeah, they've done this deal with Vitor Rice, the young Brazilian left-footed, very, very highly rated by a lot of clubs, but money talks, doesn't it? That's the first one. I'm probably pronouncing this other guy's name wrong if we've got it as well. Kusanov, I think it is. It's worth about 64 at Scrabble. And, you know, that's around 40 million euros. The only other update we had, which was important, this came through, is Marmoush obviously wants to go. He's going to get a massive wage if he does go, but they still can't get this fee agreed with Frankfurt. And Frankfurt, Marcus Kroescher especially, are known negotiators. I mean, they do people over for forwards, don't they? Like Luka Jovic, Randall Kolo Muani and that. So they're going to ask top dollar. He played for Eintracht Frankfurt the other night, Trev. So people were like, this is really, really close. Like, hold on, he's playing. So whether they're just like, listen, if you don't stump up this money, and let's not pretend Manchester City haven't got it, and let's not pretend Manchester City can't afford it, they're not going to get it done. So I am intrigued by Marmoush. That is the one that just seems to be a little bit quiet, but it's also Manchester City. So if it comes down to haggling over 5 million quid or whatever it is, we know how this one finishes, and we still expect City to end up with 3 new signings, if not more, by the end of this window.
Now, we were hopeful as well, weren't we, that Chelsea would go buck wild and get old crazy Todd back in the gunship. But it seems to be more about them trying to get rid of people at the moment. I know there is, however, one interesting twist on this in terms of a Bowley swap. So chat to us about Chelsea and what's going on there. Like I said, mostly I'm hearing about outs there.
Yeah, it's God bless Sweeney Todd. He still gives us something most weeks. And as we said last summer, he was the only sort of owner to propose all these player trades, American style, etc. And now the latest one on the block, Christopher Nkunku, 70 million package to Bayern Munich. In return, as it says there, Matthias Tell. I mean, it wouldn't surprise you if this gets done. All the info is Nkunku wants to go. He's not in the first choice lineup, isn't he? They'd happily see it. Tell, not exactly having great guns, shall we say, at Bayern Munich. So this could be one of those swaps that benefits everyone. And just, we like a swap. We like sort of Sweeney Todd coming in and changing things up a little bit that way. The other bits, I mean, they're amazing. Dizazi, they didn't want him. So they put him in the lineup to try and sell him with all their injuries and bits. And now they don't want him again and he's not in the lineup type of thing. So God knows what they're going to do with Disasi, but they clearly don't want the boy at all. This is amazing, Trev. Trevor Chalobah. We mentioned this story last summer. Wouldn't bow to pressure from the hierarchy to move, sign the new contract, etc. Not only did they banish him from Cobham, they banished him from all the youth team facilities. Do you remember? This was amazing. We had that story. He was training at a Bannatynes at one point. That's incredible. And and what happens today officially? Chelsea recall Trevor Chalobah. Now, he must just be the nicest kid in the world, possibly, because all the suggestions are like head down, working hard, prepared to go in. I mean, part of me thinks he would just like to set fire to someone's office, at Chelsea type of thing for how they've treated him. But he is back at Chelsea from Crystal Palace. The recall's been activated. So they're still just giving us a little bit of flavour now and again, Sweeney Todd, aren't they, in Chelsea? So, yeah, let's hope some more stuff comes out in this window.
Yeah, I also, as your potential pyromaniac angle there, watch this space. You don't cross a Trev. That's all I say to you. Don't cross a Trev. It's not going to work out well for you. That's pretty much it in terms of Premier League stuff, I think. But we do have a couple other bits elsewhere. We spoke last week about Muani, and there were a couple of potential destinations, but it looks like one has been set. And then we'll finish with our pals, the basket case, and yet top of the league club that is Barca, who are reinventing the financial wheel and rolling out Joan Laporta to say big things again. So finish us with Barca, but just fill us in on Muani first.
Yeah, they've shipped him around and they've got a suitor, haven't they, PSG? So Juventus, the loan, no buy option, as it says there. It's even got the here we go. So we're just waiting for the announcements. But PSG has shifted him. And we know who's coming into PSG, unfortunately. We don't need to run the Roy Hodgson meme again. This is amazing. Not as amazing, Trev, though, as digging around Barca the last few days I've got. This is brilliant. Laporta was genuinely under threat with this Pau Victor and Dani Olmo and not getting them registered. There was even murmurs like there was going to be one of those emergency presidential elections called and a chance to overthrow him and all this type of thing. Oh, no. Big Juan's not having that because Big Juan has pulled lever number 67 and sold the VIP seats. As he confirms, and we got this info, of the 9,600 VIP seats, like, I don't know, a Kanye West concert, we've given up 420. I mean, they're naming the amount of seats they're selling now. We've given up 425, 5%. One company, unnamed, kept 360, another 75. So we can register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. Just remember, lads, though, we don't own part of the East Wing anymore. That's for, BlackRock International, whoever's got it. So that was absolute brilliant. And not only that, at his latest address, and I almost got this from the Barca Journal that we get bits from, Laporta went for it, Trev. Literally went for it and said, everyone's corrupt. Everyone's after us. I mean, look at some of the wording and translation. It will take more than that to destabilize a club that is more than 125 years on. And apparently, as he was talking, there were people at the back going like, yes, Viva Fidel, and all the sorts of things they were chanting because he was just like trying to whip it up into a frenzy, as in everyone's against us, they all hate us type of thing. But you can sell some seats to pay the bills. So every time we come to Barcelona, never mind us, I don't know why we're surprised at Barcelona. They can sell something. They can pull some lever. And they've actually pulled a lever to sell some seats. And now Dani Olmo is registered.
I mean, it's tempting to just chuckle, but it can't be right what's happening. Although you've always said it with Chelsea specifically. If they can find ways to move around in grey areas and nobody's going to wrap them on the knuckles, a bit like the Grox last night in the Nottingham Forest backline, if they can just keep kicking Reds up in the air and Chris Kavanagh is not going to punish them for it, well, why wouldn't they do that? What, do we expect them not to do it? If I got away with kicking lads up in the air, I would spend my day kicking lads up in the air. So I part of me is almost like doffing whatever cap I happen to be wearing at the time to this thing. I love the selling the seats, dude. That is just hilarious. I mean, when I was in my second level school, they were trying to expand it, and they did a buy a brick campaign. Have you ever heard of this type of thing? Yeah. And apparently someone absconded with the money. I would just add a little level of intrigue to this. It just has that kind of low level hustler angle to it from the Porta, and the fact that he's juxtaposing selling seats off with big, almost political style, rabble rousing, flag waving, talking about their global fan base. It's absolutely lunatic asylum stuff. You've got to love it. I mean, it is entertaining.
There is one more thing I will have that you will love on this, Trev.
Go on.
One of the big questions that was asked is, talk with all the Barca members and everything, was in Barcelona's accounts, legal fees made up €2.5 million. And the reason was, latest estimates have that Joan Laporta and Barcelona, obviously under his direction, have sued 13 different organizations, or tried to sue organizations and people's like, La Liga, all these companies, Nike over the kit deal as well and all that. So even the lawyers are pulling levers at Barcelona. Just incredible.
That's just brilliant. You've just got to love that. I love the idea that they're just going around randomly suing people in the hope of a big payout so they don't have to sell 9,000 more seats. Fair play to them. We should start wrapping it up there. Just a word to everyone who's following in the comments. Appreciate your contributions, lads and lasses. Thanks very much for being with us live. It is cool to know that someone's listening when you're actually doing it. It gives it an extra edge, and the fact that we have our new bells and whistles here left and right, and Dave can pop in all these cool little graphics. We're very much enjoying this process and the enhanced qualities that it offers the show. So hopefully you're getting something out of it as well, and we do thank you for your contributions. I would say that much like when you're having a conversation and someone introduces Hitler, it's fucking all over. If somebody introduces the old hashtag there that we're seeing on a regular basis, I think the conversation's going one way, lads. So maybe try and hold off, regardless of the strength of your feelings. And I'm not saying they're not shared in some way, shape, or form by many people, but there you go. We've enjoyed this very much. And last word, as always, to you, brother. I'd like to say we'll be back soon with some great uplifting Liverpool news, but I don't believe that until I see it. What is your final thought?
My final thought is we're the same as we were in summer with 2 weeks to go. We are desperate to be wrong on this, just to be clear, for anyone starts with the ITK or we've got agendas or any of that nonsense. We would love nothing more than in a week or so to say Liverpool have dropped the dime on a left back. Liverpool have dropped the dime on we would love to. We really would. We think it would make such a difference, even just to be talking about, heaven forbid, renewing our existing players. Do you know what I mean? We would adore talking about that, waxing lyrical about the stars that we have. Confidence on that. Get ready for the Roy Hodgson meme one more time. And
to echo that, I do think we would love it, Kevin Keegan style. But I'm actually picturing Kevin Keegan leaning over the sideboards there, the advertising hoardings, with his head hanging as the league disappears from them. In terms of the signings only, I do think we have enough in us to keep our noses in front and win this league. I just really, really would like us to be able to think that we can go on a bit of a run here. I had a conversation to this end on Twitter today, and I'm not sure I did anything to convince the chap I was speaking to, who was more of an in the moment, celebrate the guys now. And, you know, I know what he was saying. I think other people might interpret it as a little bit condescending. I chose not to. Of course, I want to celebrate now. Of course, I love the guys we have now, and I actually believe they can do it. But I would love to think we were setting up the dynasty of success that we haven't had, and that Klopp will actually set the blueprint for. So let's hope we do have something positive to chat about next week with relation to the contracts, if nothing else. But for now, from us, 15-minute show when we said we'd do half an hour. I've been Trev Downey. That's Dave Davis. Talk to you soon.